talk about the importance of town planning. November 8th is declared World Town Planning Day. We shall dissect the importance of town planning for environmental development. My guest, the National Public Relations Secretary, Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, will talk on this subject. These and more we shall look at on the show today. I go on the breather. Society Watch begins now. Stay with us. Events, stories, issues happen every second, every hour, and every day. Our forum is how these issues affect the society. Join us every weekday, 12 to 1 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network as we explore issues affecting the society. Society Watch with Flora G. All right, welcome back. 8th of November every year is World Town Planning Day, and that's what we're looking at now. World Town Planning Day is an international day celebrating the accomplishment of planners and their contribution to their communities. On November 8th, planners around the world participate in World Town Planning Day activities annually, a practice that began in 1949. But I don't know much that's been done in Nigeria talking about the World Town Planning Day and, of course, how it's been celebrated and World Town Planners in Nigeria do. And again, what the day starts to promote. And again, how does town planning create a better environment, by way of extension, a better society? My guest joins me now for this particular discussion is town planner Edmond Chinem Iwokaize, National Public Relations Secretary, Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. Many thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let me say a great congratulations to you and your community of town planners.
Thank you.
Okay, but let's talk about the importance of town planning. But before then, November 8th is set aside to celebrate town planners and their contribution to environment. What is that contribution? And again, how crucial is your role to development, environmental development? All right,
thank you very much. Just to lay a little bit background, just in addition to what you said, it's important to recognize that World Town Planning Day was started in 1949 by late Professor Maria Carlos de la Palera of Buenos Aires University in Argentina. She was actually the one that started the World Town Planning Day movement in 1949. And so today we are talking about a 72-year annual celebration. It's important that we recognize our heroes past because what we are building on today is what they started years back. Now, talking about the role of town planning, it's important that we understand what town planning is. And if I could just use
yes, yeah, of course, run us through.
Yeah, if I could just if I could use a layman explanation, I would say that town planning is simply starting in advance what you need to do, who to do it, how to do it, and when to do it. So that's why we say that planning is futuristic. So it's simply an art and science that creates order in human settlements.
An art
and science, yes, that creates order in human settlements. So what town planning does is to ensure that you have a human settlement that is functional. You have a human settlement that things are placed where they ought to be. Now, let me just use a simple analogy. If you have a home, for example, just like you see the way your studio is, everything has been placed in the right place for us to have this program run seamlessly and smoothly. That's what planning does. So what planning does is to create order in human settlements. Now, that's why we always talk about land use planning. Because all of these activities will take place on land. Okay, of course, you know, land is a critical resource. And then you will have what we call competing uses. You have, you need land for residential, where you live. You need land for commercial activities. You need land for industrial activities. You need land for markets. You need land for schools. You need land for hospitals. You need land for infrastructure and services. And then, of course, you will need to connect all these activities with your road network. So what town planning does is simply to ensure that land is being put to the right use at the right time and in the right place. So that would just be like a layman explanation of what town planning entails.
Okay, now two critical points I want us to talk more, talk about the art of town planning, of course, the science of town planning. When we talk about the art, I'm sure we want to bring in creativity, beautification.
Exactly.
But let's talk about the science. What does, what's more scientific about
planning
settlements?
Now, thank you. One thing about science is that it is a systematic process. You know, science doesn't do things randomly. Science believes in doing things systematically and then following through what you do to arrive at an expected end. And that's what planning entails. So in planning, there's also the science of it. Because if, for instance, you want to plan a neighborhood or a settlement, you will need data. You will need statistics. You will need baseline information. You will require all these things for you to be able to put in place that plan that will be able to solve the needs that you have, of course, discovered. So that's why planning is a science. So it doesn't just go about...
Just hold on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could see the screen. Please, our TriCaster guys, if you could just help us print this picture on our big screen. So my guests could look at it. Let's look at if this is actually the work of science coupled with art. I'm sure you're seeing
that's what it does.
And I'm sure the viewers at home are actually saying that.
Yeah.
Is that a collation of science and art?
Exactly. That's what it does. So what the science helps you to follow through the process systematically. It also ensures that the decisions you arrive at are influenced by data, by the right data. And then the art now comes in. You know, art has to do with innovation. It has to do with creativity. So the town planner now puts in place or prepares a plan based on the information, the science, the standards that has guided what he does. And so
please, let's look at this.
Yeah. So
this is like a big settlement.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of these are houses.
Yes.
These are buildings.
Yes.
How long do you think this idea would have been lost, and again for everybody to align with this town planning system? Okay,
now what you are seeing here is a map, is a plan, a development plan. Now, what was there previously was just a virgin land.
Yes.
Perhaps covered with forest and vegetation. Now, this space is now being made available to the town planner. Okay, so the town planner now sits down, gathers those information I talked to you about, the baseline information, the data, and all he needs. Now, he is usually being guided by what we call a development brief.
Okay.
So the town planner doesn't just go ahead to prepare a plan. There's always a vision. That's why we say that planning is strategic. He's been guided by a strategic vision. So the first thing if you are his client, for example, be it government or a private individual, so what the planner wants to know is to see through your mind and to ask you, what do you want in this land, for example? So based on that strategic vision of what you want, now the planner sits back with his expertise because he's been trained in the art and science of planning. So he now sits back to ensure that your vision comes alive and that your vision also tallies with the laws, because planning doesn't just operate in vacuum. You're going to have laws, you're going to have regulations, and then you're going to have what you call norms and standards. Okay. So the town planner now ensures that that thing comes alive. And so he now brings in his expertise, his innovation, and then he formulates a plan that meets that need. And that's what you now see. So, and you know, when these things are done, you know, it's about visualizing. The town planner visualizes. Futuristic. That's why we say planning is always a future-oriented activity. Now, when he visualizes that, he now puts it down on paper. That's the development plan, or the master plan, as we usually refer to it.
Let's bring it to our present reality and what we get to see in today's world, where you walk into a particular settlement, you see different structures, different building. Maybe my producer could get to prompt one of this picture for us to see, so we could actually analyze. Okay. Let's look at these, for instance. I will say this was due to absence or poor planning, or maybe the government of the day never put into consideration the importance of town planning.
Yeah. Now, when you see what you're just seeing before you is a clear picture of a slum. Okay.
Yeah.
What you have before you is a slum. Now, it tells you that there's obviously a failure in the planning system where the slum is located.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, planning is a system.
Sorry, before you go further, are there possibility of erecting a better structure in a slump like this?
Exactly. The possibilities are there. The prospects are there. But of course, there will be lots of issues, because for you to have this kind of situation, it tells us that there are those who are occupying these places. And for you to do away with them, there will be a whole lot of issues. You know, there will be issues of human rights, because they also have a right to the city.
Of course,
okay, and because for you to do away with this kind of environment, you will be looking at issues of either urban renewal or total slum clearance.
I'm not saying clearance. I'm just trying to like maybe portray the importance when government is doing renewal projects.
Yeah,
town planners has a role to play.
Yeah, in fact, it's basically a town planning activity that is being championed by town planners. Of course, the town planner doesn't operate in a vacuum all alone. Other professionals will also come in and contribute their own quota. But this is entirely a planning activity. And for you to enhance this neighborhood, also for it, now let me tell you that this neighborhood can actually look like the previous picture you presented.
Oh.
Yeah. It can.
Producer, please, can you pair both pictures?
Yes, so you can.
Let's have an image.
Yeah, so you can actually turn that slum environment into what you're seeing right here. And that's what the town planner does. That's why we call it the creed of planning.
Okay.
The creed of the town planner is to put in place a society, an environment, a community that is livable, that is functional, that is economically viable, okay, that is safe for you. And that's why we'll talk about what planning achieves. Okay. One of them is convenience.
Okay.
So if you want to move around, you should be able to move around without hitches. Another, it's safety. Planning ensures that there is security, there is safety on your streets, in your home. And then we also look at economy. Planning also promotes economic development, because when you have the right plans in the right place, it promotes commerce and business activity. Then, of course, it promotes beauty, aesthetics. That's why you look at this plan and you're very happy as to the ambience, you know, that you're looking at.
It's maybe could be a tourist attraction.
Of course, of course. Now, have you wondered why there is this surge of Nigerians traveling to places like Dubai, UAE, and other countries of the world?
Yeah.
Now, you and I knew very well that these were places that were 20 years ago. It was entirely a desert land. Now, look at this. These are the creations of planning. That's why we say it's an art and also it's science. Okay? So, with that, the town planner ensures that what you're putting in here, it's put in there based on the parameters, the indices, and of course the strategic vision that he wants to achieve.
Okay, take a look at this picture.
Yeah.
What can you infer from this? Nigerians, when we talk about settlements and how we structure our settlements, do we put into consideration the role of town planners? Now,
that's where we have a problem in this client. What happens in Nigeria is that we have this culture where town planning has not been given its proper place.
Okay.
In fact, the emphasis in Nigeria is about economic planning. They're only talking about budgetary allocations. We want to do this, we want to do that. In fact, we actually go ahead providing infrastructure without planning. Yeah, and that's why we say that in Nigeria, you know, you can be growing without developing. You know, there's a difference between growth and development.
Yes.
And that's what happens in Nigeria. A president or a governor or a local government chairman just say, okay, this is what I want to do. He goes ahead to drop in infrastructure, you know, according to his whims and caprices. Wow. Sometimes these things are not even being guided by needs.
Okay. Can we say poor town planning could lead to some of the natural disaster we face, like
of course. Now, I was trying to talk about this picture. Now, one thing we must understand is that planning is an activity of government. And that's why we always say that town planning answers to good governance. Okay, so government must, first of all, provide the leadership to ensure that plans are put in place, that the plans are prepared, policies are formulated, and that government has a political will to fund those plans, because it's an activity of government. Now, it is after the government has done its role or has played its part, then you will not require the private sector to now come in, because it's not a government activity all through. So they will not come to that stage where the private sector will not need to come in. For example, if you want to, you are an estate developer, you want to come in, government would have prepared that plan, land would have been set aside for housing, then an estate developer can come in. For example, for you people to have put in this beautiful studio here, it means that provisions would have been made, plans would have been prepared, first of all, before an investor now say, okay, I want to come in here and put this in place. So it starts with the government. Then, of course, it will get to that stage where the private sector will be involved. The citizens themselves will also be involved, because everyone has a role to play.
Okay, so where do you think government of the day, like you mentioned, everybody want to travel. When we're entering the Ember period, people have prices have booked their tickets to go outside. And the main reason is just for tourists, maybe to just relax, because they feel the places are there, and those places they hope to travel to are due to crucial importance given to the role of town planners. So where do you think the government of the day, beginning from the first estate of the REM to maybe the further stage, what do you think they can do to inculcate the habit of putting town planner first? Like you said, they should be the first when it comes to settlement planning, infrastructural planning. The town plan should be able to look and say, this structure will be ideal, this structure will not be ideal, or in this particular settlement, let's have all tall buildings. Imagine we just had 2 building collapse in one week in Lagos. I'm sure if town planners were actually put into perspective, that wouldn't have occurred. I'm sure I'm right.
Yeah, you know, the problem we have in Nigeria is that we are not doing the right thing. Just like when you have a horse and a cat, how do you place them? You place the horse before the cat, so the horse pulls the cat. But what you have in Nigeria is a situation where we just grow organically. We are not growing in response to a development plan. What town planning does is to put in place plans and policies that guide the decision making. Okay, so as you're growing, you're supposed to be, that's why it's a science, it's systematic. So you're growing through a systematic plan. But just look around Port Harcourt, for example, drive through the new airport road. You will see how developments are scattered. You see one development there, you see the next one about 500 meters, 1 kilometer away. Uniformity. There's no uniformity. And then plans are not even put in place. So people are just developing. Then later on the government will not...
So quickly, who puts this law of uniformity in structures?
That's what I'm saying, the government. That's why the government agencies, government has ministries, departments. Government are not the ones
selling these lands.
No. Yes. But, you know, by virtue of the Land Use Act, 1978, government has the power of eminent domain. Government has the police power. Government has, we've given them our mandate to say that they are to make laws, regulations, prepare plans that will guide the way we do things. If you look at section 20 of the Constitution, it says that the government must ensure that the Nigerian environment is being protected, land, air, water, and what have you. So it is the responsibility of government to prepare those plans through its ministries, departments, and agencies. Now, the moment the government has done that, you as an individual, you know, that's why we have, in fact, we have what we call packages of plans, different levels of plan. from the national level, we are supposed to have what to call the National Physical Development Plan. Now, at the state level, you're supposed to have what to call regional plans. Then you have what to call local area plans at the local government level, you know. And then it comes down to subdivision or layout plans, which now shows you the plot by plot land, you know, how you will develop each land. Now, if government has been able to establish those packages of plans from the general to the specific, that's where the individual has now come in to follow through the strategic vision of the government to now do what is right. So you don't just wake up and say, I want to build a house here. One church buys land, the church is building next to you, and you know what the impact is going to be. Then the next person is doing a bakery, the next man is doing a poultry. There is chaos in the society. That's what planning wants to avoid. Planning, that's why I talk about order. Planning ensures that there is order. So if this is a residential neighborhood, it should be residential. And if it is a highbrow residential, what to call low density residential, you will also see the buildings, you know, all assuming the same pattern, the same height. Okay.
My time is up. I think we need to end this conversation. Hopefully we'll have it some other time. Thank you so much, Town Planner Edmond Chinem.